Hey, what's up you guys? Hope you're all having a good day. Now today's video we are going to be predicting the tours of the various Rugby Championship teams of their Northern tours. Yeah, without further ado, let's jump straight into it. First up we have Argentina. Argentina are currently ranked 6th in the world according to the world rankings. Now, first off, let's have a gaze at how they did in the June/July tests. So their first game was against the Lions, which they won 28-24, and I believe that's the first time that they have beaten the British and Irish Lions, which is an incredible achievement. So fair play to Argentina there. Now, they then played England in a 2-match series. They lost the first game 35-12, and they lost the second game 22-17. I believe that the second game was a lot closer, not just from like a scoreline perspective, but also from like a competitive perspective. I can't remember the first game though, so feel free to chime in the comments. And you also have to remember that England were an understrength side because of the Lions tour. Most of the best English players were in the Lions squad. They finished off the tour with a quite easy game, to be honest, against Uruguay, their South American rivals, winning that game 52-17. Yeah, so that's how they went in the July tests. Lost to New Zealand 41-24, but they did win that second test 29-23, of course, that being a very significant game. In that, it was the first game that they had won in Argentina. The other times that they've won against the old All Blacks have been over in Aussie during the like COVID years, which I think was like the first time that the first game they ever won. And then they obviously won in New Zealand as well. So yeah, the first time that they have won in Argentina, so that is a significant milestone, to be honest. In fact, one you'd think would happen before. Like you would expect them to win in Argentina before that they would win in New Zealand, but they did the other way around. So fair play to them, fair play. However, those two South African tests, at least the first one, they lost 67-30. That's a high scoring game, that one. They lost the second test only 29-27. That's a close game, at least on the old scoreboard. As for the games in that Northern Tour, they've got a game against Wales, Scotland, and England, rematch against England. So Wales have been struggling for a while, haven't they? They went on a massive losing streak. They went on a massive losing streak. It was like 12 test matches long. So I'm quite happy to predict an Argentinian victory there for sure in that first test. In the second test against Scotland, I can see Argentina getting up against Scotland. I feel like that's quite a level game though, because Scotland are one of those sides where they're good, but they struggle, if that makes sense. Yeah, like I think they play well, but they usually end up losing, if that makes sense. And then finally, that last game, another game against England, who are at full strength in the fact that they have gotten their Lions back. So I kind of have to go England there, because they've already lost against an understrength English side. So you'd have to think with a better squad, they would lose as well, but maybe not. Yeah, so I'm gonna predict a win against Wales, a win against Scotland, and I'm gonna go a loss against England to finish off Argentinians' Northern campaign. Right, so in the July test window, they played Fiji and won 21-18, which is at the very least close on the scoreboard. So they lost two out of 3 of the tests. They lost the first one 27-19, lost that second game 29-26, but then won that final test match 22-12 against the Lions. I think even though Australia lost the series, I do think that they kind of exceeded expectations in it, because I don't think many people thought it was gonna be like as competitive as it was. And even that's, I think it was the second test match. See, now we're going on my memory, which is always a bad thing. But that second match, they very much could have won that game, and unfortunately, that they didn't. And at the end of the day, the most important statistic is the scoreboard. But I think it's one of those things where they did a lot better than people were giving them credit for, and I think also Australia are kind of in a better position than they were like a year, 2 years ago, if that makes any sense. And I think that's also evident in their Rugby Championship campaign as well. They opened their account, as it were, against South Africa in South Africa and managed to win 38-22. Like that's such a significant victory for sure. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it a second time, losing that second match 30-22. Which is probably more of like an expected result, if that makes sense. Then they managed to beat Argentina 28-24, but then lost that second game 28-26. So two very close games, at least on the scoreboard. And then they lost to New Zealand both times, 33-24 and 28-14, to round out their campaign. So again, very much a mixed bag there. I'm recording this before the Japanese game. I expect Australia to win that game. Yeah, so potentially this ages already terribly, but I would expect Australia to beat Japan. England, Aussie. Oh, I don't know actually. That's a tough one to pick. I think England are a hell of a lot stronger. I think it's interesting because, and we'll get to Ireland in a second, but I think England are kind of on the way up, while I feel like Ireland are kind of on the way down, if that makes sense. That's kind of the vibe I get, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm gonna back England to win that test. Italy, Aussie definitely beat Italy. I'd be very surprised if they drop that test match. Ireland, that could go either way. Oh, I kind of want to sit on the fence, but draws just don't happen. I'll just give it to the Irish, but I wouldn't be completely shocked if Aussie managed to win that. France, Aussie, probably France would win it. Yeah, France are probably the best side in Europe at the moment. Maybe I'm wrong with that take, I don't know. They beat Japan, they lose against England, they beat Italy, they lose against Ireland, and they lose against France. Oh, that's right, yeah. So New Zealand played France. They won all three games, so 31-27, 43-17, and 29-16. And then Rugby Championship was very much a mixed bag. They won that first game 41-24. Lost that second game 29-23. Already kind of mentioned the significance of that game in the Argentinian section. They bet South Africa 24-17 to keep that Eden Park record, only to then get absolutely hammered in Wellington 43-10. And then did the double over Australia 33-24 and 28-14 to round out their campaign. It's interesting because, yeah, New Zealand are very much hot and cold at the minute, and are just very inconsistent and kind of have been since even pre-2023 World Cup. There's like this sort of narrative of like it being kind of unique to the All Blacks being particularly poor, but like is that a big part of it, or is it also the fact that other sides have simply gotten a hell of a lot better? There's almost more of an even playing field, and we're seeing that in the results, and that, you know, a team will win against one side and then lose against the other, but then they will win, you know, kind of a circle of suck, as it were, you know what I mean? Like Team A beats Team B, but Team B beats Team C, but Team C beats Team A, you know what I mean? So maybe it's a bit of that, I don't know. So first game is up against Ireland in Chicago. I think, this is a game that New Zealand could drop. Nah, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna back New Zealand here to win this game because I think they're gonna drop another game. That we'll get to in a second. Have a guess which one? You probably already know, but yeah, I'm gonna back New Zealand to beat Ireland. Because like I said, I just feel like Ireland are kind of on the down now since like pre 2023 World Cup, they were very much the top dog in Europe, and they've kind of slipped from that pedestal. I feel like, which has been interesting to see. But I could get completely wronged out. I could be proven wrong, is what I should say. Then they're versing Scotland. New Zealand will beat Scotland. They so far, touch wood, have never lost to Scotland. We'll see if that historic record is still intact, but I believe that it will be. England, New Zealand. Now this is the game I feel like most at risk. If they're gonna drop a game, it will be this one. You know what I mean? I might back England actually to win this. And their final game is against Wales. I will be absolutely gobsmacked if they drop this game. We'll say Ireland win. New Zealand win against Ireland. New Zealand win against Scotland. England win against New Zealand, and Wales lose against New Zealand to finish out that tour. So South Africa's July games were quite interesting because they had a two-match series against Italy and they won 42-24 and 45-0, very much as expected. And then they played Georgia and obviously won 55-10. So I feel like you almost can't really take too much from those games just because it's two sides that are just, the quality is just not really there comparatively. Yeah, I find it just strange that they didn't play anyone like more significant. Maybe because of the Lions tour. I would imagine that would be why, right? So yeah, bit of an interesting choice in terms of opposition. Lost to Australia, then beat Australia. Lost against New Zealand, and then won against New Zealand, and then they beat Argentina in both games. One game very significantly, and then the other game a much closer game, at least on the score sheet. First game is against Japan. Surely they win that game. I don't think it's going to be a repeat of the 2015 World Cup. France, South Africa. Now that's a pretty tasty game. If South Africa are going to lose to anyone, it'll be France and Ireland. But I think, to be honest, I think they sweep. Yeah, beat France, beat Italy, beat Ireland, beat Wales. They definitely beat Wales and they beat Italy for sure. It's definitely that Irish game and that French game are definitely the more tasty games. That's how I think it's going to go. But watch my predictions be absolutely wrong. Hit that thumbs up button if you liked this video. Feel free to drop your predictions in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I make videos whenever I can. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.